frustrated for that logo on the side of your helmet and not the name on your back.
Yes, sir.
Because we know what it represents. It represents everybody here you see and everybody you can't that we've talked about. I'm here to strain with you, man. I swear to God, I'm here to strain with you. Let's go. Everything you got, strain with everything you got. Let's go. Bills on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bills.
You're listening to the Off Tackle with John Fina show with your host, Joe Miller. Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Off Tackle with John Fina show, brought to you by Q42. He's already smiling. Go ahead, crack it.
Do I crack it now? I'm cracking it. This is a San Diego beer, local. It's pretty cool. It's called Weekend Vibes, man.
I can't even get to the open. At least let me get to the sponsor and the network before you smile at me about cracking that beer.
Dude, we're celebrating Victory Monday in it. This is a 16-ounce kind of way. I mean, come on. I've been waiting for this moment.
Oh, John, the Off Tackle with John Fina show. Oh, it's perfectly poured. Thank you, Mimi, for the cerveza. The Off Tackle with John Fina show, brought to you by, or I should say, sponsored by Q42. Brought to you by Q42 on the Buffalo Rumblings. You got me all upside down on the Buffalo Rumblings vidcast and multicast podcast, all the cast networks. I'm your host. Exacerbated already. We're 3 seconds into this thing. My name is Joe Miller, and you can find me on Twitter, Joe Miller Wired, and that guy over there, John Fina, host title of the show, like the guy, like John is the guy. So John, Victory Monday.
First
place in the AFC East again.
Yes. For 1 hour a week, I'm the guy. This is it. And I'm coming at you from the beach over here. This is the waves. You see the waves? That's good. Let's talk about Q42 barbecue sauce real quick, right? That's our sponsor, right?
Yes.
Iman Aziz, the guy. What makes his barbecue sauce different from the rest? It's made in Western New York by real Western New Yorkers with real Western New York honey and real ingredients. Even the ketchup and mustard is made from scratch, where other guys use fillers like high fructose corn syrup and other garbage. Q42 puts in the time and the effort to cook up a sauce worthy of the most serious tailgate. The KC sauce is a crowd pleaser. The Carolina is a mustard lover's match. I do prefer the Carolina, although both are great. Go to Q42barbecue.com to get yours and enter the code, all caps, shout it out, Fina Show, to save 15%. Now, I know that the supplies have been limited. Maybe the bees aren't working hard enough or for whatever reason. So get your order in for Iman and Q42 barbecue sauce.
Awesome. And we do love Q42. My wife was actually eating it today for lunch. And we got ramen going there? Or is that
oh yeah, we made a homemade noodle bowl.
Nice, very good. So you're gonna eat while we're on the show together. This should be fun.
It's too hot to eat right now, but it's beautiful.
If you're not slurping, you're not doing it right.
I wish I could get the camera angle right for you folks. I don't want to pour this on my keyboard though.
Anyways, whatever podcast platform you're watching, listening to, please like and subscribe. We are also Super Chat Live. So if you want to ask John a question, if you've got a comment about the football game that was played against the New England Patriots, the winning football game against the New England Patriots, please throw Super Chat in there. We will absolutely get to your question or comment. It will be a priority. We got a couple people in here, John, who are from or live in San Diego.
Love it.
Jesse Stentz is in San Diego. And then Rick Beam is in San Diego right now. He's right there in Oceanside. So
awesome.
I don't know if you're gonna drop your address and they can come over, knock on your door, and I don't know. And you can like
hey man, I'm right down the street from the local PB. You know, my whole family went over there for the game yesterday, and it was just awesome. Everybody was going wild.
Yeah.
And the food was incredible. They have these carnitas chilaquiles. You know what chilaquiles are?
I don't, but it sounds delicious because it's Mexican and I love Mexican food.
My God, it's basically nachos, but way better.
Way better.
So good with carnitas pork, like stewed, long cooked, and then the sauce dripped over in that real crema, the Mexican crema.
Yep.
And then that queso seco, the dried cheese, the real stuff.
Oh yeah.
And cilantro. Oh my God.
Have I told you my authentic Mexican cuisine story the first time my family and I went to Mexico? So we go to Cancun for the very first time, and we are Mexican fans. We love Mexican food. We love street tacos and Tex-Mex, right? So the majority of the places that are in the States is the Tex-Mex thing, and my kids are queso fiends. Can't go to Mexican without queso. The very first time we go to Cancun, this is probably 7 years ago. Our first night, we're at dinner and we're asking for queso, and the waitress is like, queso. We're like, yeah, queso. She's like, queso cheese, and we're like, queso. Yeah, can you bring some queso with the chips, right? Because they like make the guacamole right there at your table, and we're like, can we have some queso as well? So she looks at us puzzled, and then she's finally like, okay. And about 3 minutes later, she comes out with a bowl of shredded cheese and sets it on the table. They don't have American queso in Mexico. They don't do it.
No, they don't. That's an American thing. But traditionally, like down in Oaxaca and further down in Mexico City, they have something called queso fundido, which is what we stole it from. So yes, fundido, a little bit different. You'd have had to add the fundido.
Yeah, I'm a big chicken and chorizo fundido guy. So I like, that's a
chicken and chorizo. Wasn't that in a Bare Naked Ladies song?
I don't know, but it's delicious. So let's do this. Let's kick this game off, or this show off officially on this football game. I'm going to let you have the honors as far as expectation coming into this game, and then just your overall. Obviously, it was a win, so I know you feel good. But expectation versus reality, where you landed on this thing?
To be fair, I was concerned. I had a lot of concern about the defense, bending a little bit too much, right? So they bent, and that's okay. People are like, oh, they still got 100 yards or 160 rushing or whatever. I don't care. They only had 3 possessions inside the red zone or whatever it was. So my concern about that, though, was at some point when your offense is anemic and you're waiting for your defense to do something, it's just a bad recipe. So I knew it was going to be a struggle, but the real key was, can the offense attack? Can we put up some points, or at least sustain drives and break their will a little bit? That for me was the key, because I know eventually the defense is going to wait them out. They've been really, really good, but we can't play a one-sided game. That was my concern.
Yeah. And then the way that it shaped up, obviously, any difference in what you expected? Was that the offense you were expecting to see?
Well, it really was. I felt like it was a completeness to it, right? Yeah. So what was curious is at the end of the game, I kept thinking to myself, man, Devin Singletary ran all over the place. But, going back and looking at it, a lot of those were passes, over the middle, little dumps, but what an incredible weapon. And I just noticed from his play, it's almost as if something he looked incredible. He was carrying guys. He was fighting for every inch.
Yeah.
So they definitely had an air about them, or a chip, or a must-win anxiety that they translated into execution and performance.
Yeah.
Sure. And it kind of radiated, just the way they carried themselves. And I'm not one of these guys that talks about this kind of crap a lot. I don't put a lot of stock into that, but I feel like it was pretty obvious. What's your take?
So before I get to mine, we do have our first super chat from Brian Bowers, my guy Brian, and he says, Fina, please talk to us about Ryan Bates, the O-line play on the O-line play yesterday. P.S. We can't call him Mac until he plays like a G. His name is McCorkle. So he's talking about Mac Jones. So McCorkle is kind of his nickname. But we're going to get to Ryan Bates. So sit tight, Brian. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk quite a bit about Ryan Bates. My expectations coming into this game, for some reason, I had a quiet calm about the game. That is not meaning that I had some premonition on how the game was going to go. I just felt like the Bills were better than this football team. Very much concerned about the run game. I asked on my show early yesterday, there was a point in the game where I just said, does Bill Belichick respect our pass defense rather this much, or does he disrespect our run defense this much? Because all he wants to do against the Bills is run the ball down our throats. And I want the question answered. Is it because he, like I said, respects our pass defense or disrespects our run defense? So I was kind of expecting to get a full dose of Damian Harris. which we did. You mentioned the fact that they were only in the red zone 3 times. They scored on all 3 of them, three running touchdowns on all 3 of them, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And then the outcome was the outcome. I was not. I full well anticipated the Bills coming out flat, because that's who the Bills are. The Bills this season, last year, they came out guns blazing every single game, because we talked about it. There was almost a sense or a feeling that it seemed that we're gonna have to outscore everybody we play. We're gonna have to put 35 on everybody. So we're gonna from jump. We're gonna go. This year it's been different. They've been more feeling games out. And yesterday they came out and they foot to the floor and they came out guns blazing, and it was a welcomed sight for these old eyes. Like, I was very pleased.
No question about it. So Bill Belichick's old school. He wants to run first, establish the run, get a 100-yard rusher, don't turn the ball over. Typically you win the game. Right. That was a lot in a second there. But by and large, you get a 100-yard rusher, you don't turn over the ball, you typically win the football game. So they did one of those 2 categories. I do think that he respects our secondary, even without Tre'Davious White. I mean, they're looking solid. Yeah. You don't even hear talk too much about my guy, 39, Levi, because
he had that almost pick yesterday. Yeah. Almost.
So what was curious to me is, I like where you're going with that, but I think he just likes to pound the ball. And I think that's number one, because that's how you break guys. That's how you break them. When you consistently run the ball and lean on teams, that's when you put them away. So that's always goal number one for sure.
Yeah. So off the top, I'm going to drop this banner real quick, and even though we're going to get more into it, we're going to go back to Brian Bauer super chat. What were your thoughts on Ryan Bates? And I can give you mine after yours. Yours are probably going to be more powerful than mine, but what were your thoughts just from what you watched?
So, I talked about it. I sent out that little tweet, which went so haywire and sideways about, we can win without these guys in the game. Yeah. And people started taking each other's heads off, and I'm like, guys, come on now.
Welcome to Twitter.
Yeah. Well, I just kind of sit back and read. And by the way, anybody who follows me, if I don't hit the like and you're sandwiched between 2 likes, that's because I don't like. So I just don't like. You know what? He disappeared for me. Like, you didn't hear about him. You didn't see about him. And so when I went back, I watched about a quarter and a half of the game. I'm in San Diego, so I didn't really dive into it as deep as I would like. Yeah. But if nobody jumps out at you, then all you're looking for, like, as an offensive lineman, you're just looking to, kind of drift into obscurity. Yep. So he did it. There weren't glaring errors. There weren't glaring mistakes. They played pretty well assignment football. Yeah, the other guys get paid too. There was some penetration at various times during the game, but by and large, I thought it was fantastic. It was seamless. Yeah, seamless. Wasn't it?
Yeah, it's which is weird too, because we've been told by a lot. Obviously, I've never asked Brian Bates a question, but we've been told by the likes of Sal Capaccio and these guys that know this stuff that Ryan Bates is not a guard, never has been a guard. He's a center and a tackle. To which I've made comments all the time. He's supposed to be the first guy off the bench, which he never is. So if Dawkins goes out, Tommy Doyle comes in. If Spencer Brown goes out, Tommy Doyle comes in, and it's borderline maddening. I watched things yesterday that I've never really paid attention to before because of you. It's all your fault. You've ruined me. So I'm watching him strike the player. Right? So that's the stuff I'm watching. I'm watching him hand guys off. I'm watching if he's just holding his own with whoever his assignment is. I'm going to be honest with you. He looked like the best guard on this team for a guy that doesn't play guard. He looked like the absolute best guard on this football. That you never know. Guys have good games. Guys have bad games. Units have good games. Units have bad games. We don't know necessarily if the Patriots, their unit had a bad game, but that looked like the best 5 we have. That lineup looked like the best 5 we've had all season long, which poses a question from me to you. So follow me here. We know that Marv Levy did something similar to what this staff does, and he did it with Steve Tasker. Steve Tasker was far too valuable on special teams to allow him to play wide receiver, even though he was good at it. The difference is your team was stacked with wide receivers. You weren't losing Tasker, like you weren't losing a super big threat by not having Tasker. This coaching staff does the same thing. They protect Bates because God forbid Mitch Morse gets hurt, because Bates is also the backup center. And consequently, hurts the offensive line because the best 5 aren't playing. They do the same thing with McKenzie. When McKenzie took over the return duties, they completely removed him from the offense. And then when he got benched, he was like scratched and like wasn't in the game at all. And obviously we see his contributions to the game yesterday. Where do you fall on that? Because to me, play the best 5.
Yeah, it cuts both ways, right? So the moment that Bates goes in and plays a lot of guard and then he gets hurt and Morse gets hurt, then you're calling up a guy down and, graduated from Georgia Tech like 12 years ago, So look, these are philosophies, and I would agree with you. Next man up, best man up kind of thing. It could be a functional thing. I don't know the guy. I mean, my son Bruno, we were just talking about it. They do an assignment check thing, 3 days before every UCLA game. And they literally in a room, name a play, call you out. Joe Miller, stand up. What's the answer? It's Socratic method, man. Like, this is the play. What do you got? Who does he block? So there's a lot of things that could go into it, but it does seem philosophical to them. I personally feel like play them. If you think they're the best player, play them. But again, I mean, my job isn't riding on this decision. So
you say the comment, and I get it, and I track with it. All of a sudden, Morse gets hurt and Bates gets hurt, regardless of the fact that Feliciano is actually the backup center, not Bates. So if the first person to go to center, if he's available, is Feliciano, but regardless, then you're calling up some practice squad guy. Well, we're living in a world where Connor McDermott is playing football. Wyatt Teller, former Bills guard that the Bills traded because they were going to cut him, is now a Pro Bowler. Like, I don't know that that's the world I live in. And then all I can think of is, you can play the best 5 and win 4 straight, or you can not play the best 5, potentially get your quarterback hurt and lose 2 out of 4 games.
Yeah, but you're not at practice every day either. True. I mean, the guy could be making mental errors on, simple plays, and that gives, that gives a coach agita. You tighten up. There's nothing come out in there. You're like, ooh, sitting on pins and needles. So, without having that transparency, there's just no way to know. But chalk it up to philosophy, and you don't like it, get a new GM, get a new head coach, man. I mean, it's just the way it is, and you're gonna have to take that bitter pill and wash it down with some delicious IPA.
They're not sponsoring the show.
Beach.
You're gonna wash it down with delicious Q42 barbecue.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be great? Oh, you know what? Next show I'm doing shots of Q42.
Well, listen, I told you to track with me because I'm now gonna pile on. So, and the pile on philosophically for me, and I know you were not in a position that you could hear the game broadcast. So I'm guessing you could not hear the game broadcast yesterday. Are you going to eat the whole show? Is that what's going to happen?
I might. It's pretty good. It's a little soy though. Yeah.
I love what you're eating right now. Anyway, so were you able to hear the broadcast team at all?
Yes.
There was a point where Charles Davis said to, I forget is it Ian Eagle? Said to Ian Eagle, I'm actually wrong. I'm sorry. I'm incorrect. It actually was from Deion Dawkins, if I'm not mistaken. They asked Deion Dawkins about Ryan Bates or in his presser. And he said from OTAs, they flip those guys around and make everybody play every position. So what we see when we see Williams go from tackle to guard to tackle, when we see Feliciano go from right to left to right to left, like all these guys that somehow there's a philosophy in OTAs to get them familiar or quote unquote used to all of these other positions. And all that rings in my head is the conversation with Reuben Brown and you, where moving around like that, especially right to left or left to right, is not easy. And you watch this offensive line over and over again, game after game, look really unsettled. Very much like they're not necessarily comfortable in the positions they're in outside of Deion Dawkins, Mitch Morse, because those are probably the only 2 guys that aren't sliding all over the line, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I think what I hear you saying is, if you're going to practice this philosophy, if you're going to practice this philosophy, why aren't you putting it into practice?
Sure. It's just, to me, it's just, I don't know. It seems counterproductive to everything I've ever heard, read, listened to, watched about offensive lines. They're not wide receivers. It's not like going from the X to the Y to the Z. It's just different, right? And they don't even do that. There's wide receivers they talk about that aren't slot guys. He's not a slot guy, and they would never put him in the slot. Well, why are you taking a tackle and moving him to right guard, a left tackle, or whatever, or a right? It just, it's a little frustrating for me, especially when I watch that offensive line play the way that they did yesterday. They played well.
But I think we've gone over this a number of times. In my opinion, the only guy on the offensive line who was substandard, like to the point where he should have been sat, was Cody Ford.
Right.
I mean, I don't think Feliciano was guilty of the greatest sins, So it's hard to change a guy. It really is. That's a big decision. If a guy's doing the right assignment and he gets beat physically every now and again, those are hard decisions to make because everybody gets beat.
But I guess my question is if the answer was on the bench in Ryan Bates, why is Cody Ford going in the game after game? Last year, why is Brian Winters starting and playing game after game after game when Ryan Bates is on the bench?
We can go around in circles here, Joe. I mean, I really feel like we're a circle, like the bowl of my soup, my delicious homemade noodle soup.
Is it?
If I were as smart as Shifu from Kung Fu Panda, then I would have the answer.
Anyways, so those are just some bleeding, blistering thoughts from what was a tremendous football game. I had no bad dude awards yesterday. Like everything was good, and I had so many more I could have given out. It was a great football game.
We had a super chat up there. We didn't address. Did we address part one?
The other one is not calling him Mac until he plays like a G. His name is McCorkle.
Well. I mean, everybody's going after this poor guy. I mean, I think he's serviceable right now. I think they've done the smart thing to protect him, the way they've designed the offense. Doesn't throw the ball a lot, doesn't throw the ball far.
Yeah.
How many quarterbacks can you name that got thrown in their rookie year into an awful situation?
Josh Allen.
With a crappy team.
Josh Allen.
Well, right, Josh Allen. But, I mean, I think Belichick is smart here. I think he's going to just continue to pump the brakes. He's playing the long game.
Yeah.
We might get through the season. And I know everybody people are slobbering all over Mac Jones. And so that makes the Bills Mafia extra ornery, extra pissed off about it.
Of course.
But to me, I just think you got to set that aside. I mean, he's just a kid. And I think they're handling him in the right way and putting him in the best situations possible, given that they have limited resources too. I mean, I think their wide receiver crew is fair at best, right?
Yeah, they had issues. Nelson Aguilar was out of the game. Yeah, they had problems, and then Kendrick Bourne was coming back from COVID, and he was clearly taxed in that football game.
The kid from ASU is just terrible.
N'Keal Harry. And what's interesting is that Matthew Judon was put on the COVID list, reserve list today, which there's now speculation out there that he had COVID yesterday because he was very much kind of gassed yesterday, that he was not full of the amount of energy that he normally was. But let's move on. Let's progress. And let's carry on with the format of the show and get to the good. For me, the good by far and away was the offensive line. The offensive line was superior to what we have seen all year long. Josh Allen, as much as we want to talk about Isaiah McKenzie, and he had a tremendous special day that is probably might overshadow his Miami Dolphins last game of the season game last year, where he completely went nuts in that football game because of the opponent and what this game meant. Like, he had a phenomenal football game. But to me, the narrative is Josh Allen. I think we saw growth steps. I think we literally saw Josh Allen do things kind of in rhythm and in time. It felt natural, things that those swing passes just didn't feel like natural. They didn't look normal to him, like at least as a viewer. And in this football game, they very much looked natural.
Yeah, well, he did well beyond the very smart play that I noticed. He made some extraordinary plays, as we all know. But the things he did, I'm throw this ball away. I'm scrambling, but I can't run it, and I don't have a pass. I'm going to toss it.
Yeah.
He had 3 poor throws.
Yeah,
he should have had Kumaro in the end zone, but that was on Josh. I mean, that ball he could have flicked it up like this and put enough air under it.
What's crazy is I've got the video in the replay. Kumaro had it, and when he cradled it and brought it down, it just awkwardly, things you never see happen, like just floated out the bottom of him.
I totally understand that, but given the situation, how open he was, it's a poor throw. I mean, he could have thrown a rainbow up there, and Kumaro could have stopped and caught it. He had to extend those aren't, look, I mean, I can't barely extend to grab something off the table over here, right? So now full speed, breathing hard, tracking a ball, twisting
giant
your
beard,
body in the air.
Giant beard, long hair.
Giant beer. Did you say giant beer?
He's got giant beer.
Although this looks like a regular sized beer in my hand.
Yeah, right. What's amazing about Josh Allen right now, what we saw in that football game, and if it continues, and that's obvious, how trajectories go, as much as he's one of the better learning, teachable quarterbacks that I've ever seen. I don't expect every game from here on out to be this, but I remember in 18 and 19 as a rookie, all he would do was throw lasers around the field. And it was, if he could just learn to throw touch passes. And then last season, it was lasers and touch passes, but it never seemed to like where he would get them both in a game. It was one or the other. It's like, I'm working on this or I'm working on that. Mm-hmm. And in this game, it looked like he kind of was living in that spot of, I need to put some heat on this one, and this one I need to kind of float or flick.
Yeah, no, the growth is obvious. I'll tell you, I mean, the throws across the field, the two that he made were
ridiculous.
First of all, I'm standing there, at the local PB in San Diego with the crazy Bills Mafia around me, and I'm trying to focus in on the play with all the noise going on, and I'm like, what in the hell is he doing? Don't do that. Don't. Oh my God, what a great throw. But that's the arm strength. But the cool thing about that, what is he, 6'5" and a quarter? His vision is incredible. He's backing off on that one throw. He's backing up, throwing it across the field. But it's one thing, you see Brett Favre just chuck it up in the air.
Yeah.
But he's doing it with real vision. Like, he knows where his guys are, scrambles a little bit, instinctively raises his eyes, and then he's able to fire that ball in there. It's pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But I would agree with you. The offensive line played pretty damn well.
Yeah, I guess I didn't get to your good. Go ahead and give me your good. Good.
Yeah, I love the secondary. I mean,
yeah.
Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are just awesome.
Yeah,
it's so fun to watch. Milano kind of disappeared, but in a good way. I mean, just flying around. Metakevich come in. We had a 3 linebacker set against, that extra tackle that they put in, which was a nice little wrinkle. We attacked on the run.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pleased defensively from kind of top to bottom, with a little bit of, this, maybe that. The blocking up front on offense was great, and Josh just had a command of the game, and he exuded confidence.
Yeah,
and that's contagious.
Yeah, he looked very much 2020 Josh, and I don't know what they did to get it out of him, but whatever it was, they need to replicate that, like, for the next 6 weeks until the Super Bowl is over.
I'll send a memo.
Speaking of being a former Buffalo Bill, as you send a memo to the coaching staff, what is it like when you walk into a Bills backers bar? Do they recognize you immediately, or does it that's John Fina, that's John Fina. Like all the way down, you watch all the heads turn, like, that's John Fina, that's John Fina.
There's 3 categories of people, right? The first one who just like runs up to you and is like all over you.
Right.
Which is hilarious because that's fun. And then category 2 is like that first category is like 5% of the people there.
Right.
And then category 2 is, I know he is, but I'm not going to bother him because he doesn't want to be bothered. I'm like, I'm in a bar with 150 people watching a game. I would have stayed home if I didn't want you to approach me. Right.
That's me. I'm category 2.
You're category 2, and that's about 70%, right? So now we're up to 75, 80-ish percent, right?
Yeah.
And then the remaining percentage are people who are so young they don't have a clue who I am. And there were quite a few there. They're like, come on, guys, you don't know who that is? And the kid's like, I'm 26.
That's hysterical.
But I put it out on the Facebook that I was going to be there, and it's holidays, so a lot of people were back in Western New York, visiting family. But we had a pretty good turnout. It was a lot of fun. I'm telling you, T-Dog, that's her name. I asked, is that your given name? And she said, no, my given name is T effing Dog, which is awesome, hyphenated. That's funny. She was our server, and she was brilliant. So I was there with Mimi and her boyfriend from the UK, Lewis and Roman and Stella and Melissa, and we had a blast. And the fans were great. I tell you, I like to watch the game alone sometimes, but then Like I think I probably would have gone nuts watching this game as high as the stakes were alone. Like you gives you a chance to share it with everybody around you.
Yeah.
You know, the good, the bad, and then I think if you happen to lose a game like that, you can cathartically release it all right there. And not have to carry it with you for a day.
That part I would disagree. So if I was guaranteed the Bills were going to win, if I knew somehow the Bills are going to win this game, I would love to go someplace and watch the game with 1 million people, because it's going to be a celebration. It's going to be off the hook. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. When me, you've seen me, you've been at my house and watched the game with me. I'm gonna sit on the couch, watch it alone, kind of consume it. McKenna, like the closest, most trusted people can be around me. If I was in that environment, I can tell you what it's like. We played the Pittsburgh Steelers opening game, home opener this year, and before the game, home opener, it was nonsense. It was chaos. The party in all the parking lots was unbelievable. It was literally amazing. Dude, when we walked out of that stadium after the Steelers beat us, it was a funeral. Nobody was talking. I mean, we went from conversations, other content creators having conversations with people around us talking about how Josh Allen is probably the best quarterback in the NFL, and there's no way the Steelers can stop him, to basically nobody saying a word to each other, waiting for the crowds to leave.
A special teams coach. Oh, don't take me back. Let's only look forward. Come on. What's next?
One last question about your experience. One last question about your experience at the BB. So you did put out, no, you texted me. You did not tweet it. You texted me about the dude that was yelling for field goals. So talk me.
I did. I tweeted that also. I don't want to be conservative anymore. I'm like 37 years old now, so I just want to go for everything. I'm getting that testosterone back, I'm like testosterone therapy, maybe. So for me, so if we've talked about this, I always say you got to score on your opening drive, whether you have the ball first or not. So when the Bills scored on that first drive, I was like, yes.
Right.
Even though they answered, right, and went 7-7, I was like, that's okay. That's a confidence builder, right? Like, you have this success. When you take your opening drive and go 3 and out, I mean, just deflated. You're at Foxborough or whatever the hell they call it. I don't even know.
It's Foxborough.
Totally different feel. So I say you got to score on your first drive of the game. And then if you get the ball first in the third quarter, you have to score one way or another. Now,
right.
It wasn't the result that we wanted, right? I think we got 3. But
on the second one, yeah.
The first drive, though, was
touchdown, TD.
Of the
pass Isaiah McKenzie in the first
third quarter.
Of the third quarter. Yes, that was
quarter. Field goal. But
yes,
they had the ball for 6.5 minutes.
Yeah, they drained the clock.
Yes, and that's coming out of the locker room, the 12-minute halftime. Getting set back, hostile environment. Even though you only ended up with 3, you controlled the ball.
What's not being talked about, I don't mean to interrupt you, and I'm sorry, but what's not being talked about on any of the shows today about this game, and it's being talked about a lot, the Buffalo Bills being the first team never to punt against Belichick. The Bills came out, the Bills came out 6-minute drive, 3 points. The Patriots followed that up with a 7-minute drive to score a touchdown to still be down 2 possessions. Nobody's talking, and then their next drive was like 6 minutes. Nobody's talking about, like, they did not work the clock at all. They just were like, we're just going to run plays and see what happens. And the clock ran out on them.
Exactly. And that was brilliant. I mean, we've had too many 3 and outs in really tough situations. And I love how the drives were extended. And, we had one drive, I think it was that first drive of the third quarter with a couple of penalties that brought us back, which I thought were kind of candy-ass penalties.
Yes.
I mean that in the nicest way possible. But there was a resilience to it. Even though those penalties happened, there wasn't this kind of like hang your head, dour behavior. There was a true energy with the team in this game. And I firmly believe scoring the first drive, you have the ball at the beginning of the game. And in your first possession of the third quarter, you either score or you match what they did or better.
Yep. Yeah, super good. So let's talk about a couple plays that were on the good side of things that you drew up for me. And the first one is Tremaine Edmunds. So do you want to work on this one real quick?
Yeah, I just, my feeling is before you even press play, a lot of people go around and around about Tremaine Edmunds, and this and that, but this is 4th and 1. And now I know everybody has nightmares of seeing a 4th and 1 play dive, go for 50 yards for a touchdown because everybody's on the line of scrimmage except one guy, right? You see it. Right. So they bounced this beautifully. The Patriots had just beautiful play, but Tremaine Edmunds slides down the line. I don't think there are maybe three other guys in the league who can make this play. But he gets through the trash. You can see a Patriot body flying at him, and he makes the tackle for a 2.5, 3 yard gain. You could say, oh, well, the corners were there. The safety was coming up. Hey, that doesn't always happen. The play needs to be made as quickly as possible. And I'm just telling you right now, this is just extraordinary athleticism. And you don't get this from everybody. Shucks that guy, boom. Makes the tackle. If 16 makes a better block, he's heading downhill, I think, at Taron Johnson, right?
Yeah.
And look, Poyer got bumped. Is that Poyer or Hyde? There's Poyer. Gets a little bump.
The way that he walks the line is incredible.
Boom. Look at that.
And I think you said to me, I mean, obviously, Taron Johnson is right there to kind of maybe gobble him up, but Taron doesn't look like he's in a position to, like, right there. You see Taron, I mean, he probably gets him, but I think you said to me as well that, like, if Tremaine isn't there, there's a chance this goes for a really,
and
really
I think it's Micah Hyde is a single high free safety here. Yeah. So if that's a better block by 16,
that's Micah.
You just don't know.
Yeah, that's Micah.
I mean, how many times have you seen running backs put a move on a free safety or a strong safety sitting back there and go an extra 20? So this could have been a disaster play because it was really well designed. They got outside of us. They just didn't expect Tremaine Edmunds to be floating down the line like that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
The next one that you had me pull up for you was 3 linebackers. So we're actually in a traditional 4-3 with Tyler Metakevich in for AJ Klein, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, the big talk was, they added their extra offensive lineman. He's at the right tight end position at the top of the screen here. And they ran all over us the last game. So you got to gamble, right? You assume a little bit because you're going to match up here. I talk about basketball. They go big, you go big. They go small, you go small. So we brought Metakevich in. Now, that's a traditional 4-3. We don't see that much. When was the last time you see a 4-3 in this league? Now, the end result of the play was fair. They did run the ball pretty successfully, but the penetration, when you have big guys like that, if you can get your guys up front penetrating and make that cut, that's what you got to do. Right? And that's inside. Ed Oliver forces that cut.
Yep, gets me to cut back inside.
But he has the freedom because you got Metakevich, Milano, and Edmunds back there who can take on big physical offensive linemen shed. And you give up 5 sometimes, you give up 7. We just don't want to give up 12 and 17 and 24 or 56 for a touchdown.
Right. Super good. Got a super chat from your friend and mine, Pam Madonna on Twitter. Does this team, she's speaking to you, John, remind you of the Bills when you played? I feel a strong similarity to those years. What do you think of the similarities and differences? This year reminds me of the year of the greatest comeback, which was 93, right? 92?
That was in January of 93, season of 92.
Yep.
So, it's kind of curious that Pam says that because that was really just my first and second year. I was in a situation where we had strong defense and strong offense. For the back end of my career, it was either one or the other. We were terrible on one side of the ball or the other. So I would say this game reflects the excitement that Darryl Talley and Thurman Thomas, brought to the field, right? So that infectious nature of this team reminds me of those teams. There's no complacency in this particular game. Like, we've had issues with what's going on with their identity, with their enthusiasm. We have those questions because we're fans, right? I'm a fan. Hey, I may have played, but I'm as big a fan. Well, not as big a fan as all these nut jobs. Oh, I mean, my constituency. I love you all. But this does kind of reminisce, it's got that kind of inky feel to it where, there's just a lot of testosterone, a lot of excitement, along with a lot of, play. Like the interpersonal relationships of the guys is pretty good. I miss the bickering Bills. That was before me. And they kind of put that aside for when I got there. The locker room was much more cohesive.
Tight.
Good question, Pam Madonna.
Very cool. And then the Josh Allen long run, is that a good play? We're going to say that one for what's the next good play you want to hit? So I got the Allen run, the 4th down offsides. I know that's a good one, right?
Yeah, I think that you can throw that up for a second. I just want to talk to the confidence of it, right? So it's 4th and 7. We're just saying, hey, Bill, we're coming after you, right? We're going to line up in this formation, and we're not kidding around. We don't have our quarterback under center, of course, because it's not a sneak. Of course.
Technically 5 wide. We got a receiver just off the tackle over here. So it's technically 5 wide.
Yeah. So we're going to open it up, air it out, which gives the defensive line like a mindset of this is real.
Right.
And how brilliant. I mean, how satisfying is it to pull people off in their own house?
Right.
Right. Like,
yep.
Whoop.
I think what's amazing. It's coming.
I think Morse really got it more than anything.
What's amazing about it is Ike Butker, Feliciano did it before Ike, but when Feliciano got hurt, and then Ryan Bates was doing it in this game, he doesn't give the hand wave. This guy jumps. So every single snap, unless Allen was under center, Ryan Bates gives that hand wave, that hand bob to go ahead and snap the ball. He doesn't even do it, and the dude jumps.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you looking at, bro?
Oh my God. But I mean, we did it. Which game was it where we were jumping off sides like mad? I think we did it in the Pittsburgh game too, in our own house. It's like, God, just watch the ball. Anyway, let's move on. I just love the confidence of it.
All Morse does is pop his head up, which is normal, and then sets, and then like the hand motion comes next. And then
I'll tell you something too. If you look at Josh throws it right before the snap was coming, we're running a play here. Like, there's no question in my mind that they were going to run a play. They weren't going to bleed this out and punt.
What's funny is, like, when the snap happens, Josh just walks away from it. It zips by his head. Zing! Right there. It goes by his head. He could have ran a play. He could have gotten one of those Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly, by the way, and Aaron Rodgers are the 2 best quarterbacks I've ever seen at running that free play off of those offside jumps like that. Like, awesome. Nobody was better than Jim, and Aaron has it down too. So, which is interesting. I think that's pretty much it. And then, so let's jump over to, at this point in time, the work that's got to be done. And I don't feel like there's a bunch. I know there's some, you had talked about some defensive players and some issues on that line. And what's funny is how much he has changed our tune through the course of the year, which is Ed Oliver. Ed Oliver is playing very well. But you've got just some interesting thoughts or feelings just as it pertains to the defensive line and some of those guys. But in your mind, where is the work at?
Well, so the front 4 concerns me a little bit. I think you're getting the best play out of Addison and Ed Oliver right now with respect to getting in the backfield on the passer. So I don't think Jerry Hughes is that old. And I think part of what, here's my guess. We love to roll guys a lot, but there's a line there where if you're not in enough, you don't have the groove. And Greg Rousseau is no longer a rookie.
Right.
There's too many games in now, and there's not enough production out of him. Pressures, forced scrambles on 2nd and long, 3rd and long. He's not getting free. So frankly, I need to see more out of the ends. We need to get more up front pressure wise. And that's my biggest thing on the defense.
Yeah,
very clearly.
For me, it literally what I was going to say, and as much as I agree and don't agree, Pops Mafia says the play call on the goal line from the 1 yard line, pass. I don't have a problem as much. I don't have a problem with pass.
Hate it.
I know you hate it. The problem that I have is I don't necessarily think that run is the answer unless it's a Josh Allen run. And Josh, I know that there was like the Dawson Knox touchdown to end the game, to close the game out. He was going to run that ball. The problem was Duggar advanced towards him. Duggar took off towards him, so he just flicked it to Knox at that point. We're not seeing the, I don't want to call them creative, but the design runs inside of 7 yards that we have seen from Josh Allen in the past. And obviously it's play calling, right? So they're trying to run them when they get way close, 1 yard, 2 yards. But last year and the year before, and even 18, if they were inside of 8 yards, there was a Josh Allen design run coming, and he would score more times than not.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I disagree. I'd still like to see Josh under center. If you're inside the 2 yard line, quarterback under center, running back at 6 yards, whether you're going to kind of spread them and run a zone or whether you're going to do a little trap. I just don't love throwing the ball. It's the field is too compressed.
Yeah.
The safety can't drop to 15 yards. He'll be in the tunnel. So I don't like it.
Yeah.
But that's me. I mean, I remember distinctly we had a possession. I don't remember what game it was, what the hell it was. We had 1st and goal from the 7 on the closed end. And we went pass. I was furious. And not that it matters if I was furious, nobody cares what I think. And then we come out and Steve Christie, normally incredibly reliable, misses. I was like, what's that, a 22-yard field goal? I don't know. I can't do math, right? They're 21, 31-yard. And I'm walking to the sideline, and I mean, the expletives and the hand gestures are coming out. And then the Bruce DeHaven, who, I love, but on game day, you don't love nobody. Anybody gets in your face, and he comes up to me. He's like, "You should have scored a touchdown, so we wouldn't." And I'm like, I almost went at it with Bruce DeHaven. So, and that's hard to do. I mean, he was a wonderful guy. God rest his soul. But that goes back to I guess the Washington Football Club and the Dallas Cowgirls. I guess they mixed it up. No, I didn't saw that.
Oh my gosh, dude. It was not good.
Is it on the YouTubes?
No, it was on all the highlight shows. It's one thing to have it. It's one thing to have a get in your face moment, but they're yelling at each other. There's a dude between them. They're yelling at each other. The one dude stands up and presses his fingers into the guy's temple, and then he just swings at him. It's it's Kevin Gilbride and Bum, right? Bum.
Yeah, it was
it wasn't
the
Bum.
Father of the Twins. We had the coach there in Buffalo.
Oh, Ryan. It was Buddy Ryan. Yeah, Buddy Ryan. It was literally taking a swing. It was bad news. It was like, what in the world is going? I don't know that you come back from something like that. I've seen them yell at each other, but yeah.
I mean, tempers flare. Yeah. So the work, that's it. I mean, and the work is to continue to go assignment perfect on the offensive line. Dable has work.
Right.
Dable has work. What did you do? What'd you game plan? Are you getting feedback from Josh and Stephon Diggs? Who are your key guys? When we're talking about attacking in the red zone, are they helping with the game plan? Does their input matter? Do they have buy-in? Are you giving them enough so that they buy in?
Yeah. I think another thing for me, and you can speak to this more than I can because obviously you played, and I think you played special teams a little bit your first year. I'm not sure. Or maybe
once, bro.
Yeah, did you? Yeah, there you go. We benched Isaiah McKenzie because he was having ball handling issues, right? They bring in Marquez Stevenson, and Marquez Stevenson, it was a kick returner in college, looked great in the preseason. Marquez Stevenson yesterday averaged, I think, 15 yards per return. It didn't look like it. It didn't look.
Yeah, he had the 2 big ones and then 2 nothings, right?
But he has a hard time finding the hole. He has a hard time squeaking through. That's an area of work for me. I'm sitting there waiting for this guy to break one 40 yards, right? I don't even make the end zone. Give me a 40-yard return, a 35-yard. McKenzie gave us those. Andre Roberts gave them to us all the time. But that to me is an area of work. They need to work on the special teams. And it's
I know. I mean, you love it, and fans love it because it's such a pow play. Such an energy driving play. When you're an offensive lineman, every time the special teams goes out, the first thought in your mind is, God, I hope somebody doesn't hold and we're at our 10-yard line instead of the TD 20. So anything that just doesn't push us back, when you're running out to the 27-yard line, you're like, and then you're back at the 17. I just, to me, I think anytime you get a big play out of the special teams, it's just a gift.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to force it, it'd be like me calling you hey Joe, what can you get me? What can you do for me lately? I just want it to disappear with the no mistakes, no circling the drain, and I'm fine with it. So for me, it's just it's a non-starter.
Got a super chat.
I hate to burst your bubble.
Got a super chat, but I'm going to read this one first. Andrew Tolley asks, what about Isaiah Hodgins as a kick returner? Well, first of all, Isaiah Hodgins doesn't really have that quick twitch type of feel. He's also, I know Isaiah. He's a friend of mine. He's 6'3". He's not really the guy that you want back there returning kicks. However, the super chat from Eric Farrell. Eric, thank you for being a part of the show. Merry Christmas, fellas. John, can you reconcile with the law of physics how Hightower bounced off of Motor and landed right on his backside while Motor is carrying Kyle Duggar? Just wondering.
So Josh Allen has to throw the ball at the trajectory. Remember that guy? I love that guy. So that's the thing, is like, I don't want to say that, it's like a Doctor Strange movie or Marvel film where the laws of physics don't apply, but you do see some crazy things in football, right? And you just can't account for, was it force times mass times velocity or whatever it is. I mean, it's, people bounce around. I just love it because it makes the game more entertaining. And look, Motor, I saw that one on the sideline where Singletary was so low and he just kept driving. And if you got the right kind of leverage, it's a beautiful thing, Eric. I mean, great question. I wish I had the math. All I have is chopsticks, a bowl of noodles, and a giant beer. But
well, it's literally Josh Allen breaking around the end on a 4th and 1, right? Trying to get the 4th down. We're trying to convert the 4th down into a 1st down, and J.C. Jackson of all people catches nothing but air. That's not supposed to happen. Like, Josh Allen is 6'5", some say 6'6", 240 pounds. He's not supposed to be able to whip his hips like that and make J.C. Jackson get nothing but his own player. Like that, the type of physics stuff that you're talking about. So
that's the desire, right? And
right.
Josh Allen is a special kid. I mean, it doesn't mean you win every game. It doesn't mean you make every play correctly, and I don't think that there's anybody that's actually mailing it in, but I think Josh really looks at, like, and we talked about this too, like, oh, we didn't hear anything about, there it is, force equals mass times acceleration. So we have these assumptions about players and things of that nature. And mine about Josh is, he's the guy got ignored, and he's the guy that somebody believed in him. So he takes it more to heart.
Right.
And in every play, he wants to carry everybody on his shoulders.
It was it was Terminator, right? The fact that he got drafted in the 2nd round, that was a problem for Thurman Thomas. Right. Did you ever hear anything about that from him? Did he ever speak about it in the locker room?
No. I mean, there was like what was the equivalent of a 30 for 30 once, or an interview about it, but and maybe that's the same for Aaron Rodgers. I just think that Thurman Thomas is like a million times more likable.
So let's pick up some plays that we feel need work. And the first one that you've got for us is the Josh Allen run, which turned into a 25-yard basically takeoff on Josh, but you want to talk about something else in the play.
Well, look, I mean, the ball's ostensibly at the 38-yard line, right? So Josh should be as far back as the 46-yard line
in his drop.
In his drop, right? I mean, 7 to 8 yard drop. He drops to 9.5 yards right here. And although the end result of the play is good, the problem is he created pressure where none existed. Right. And, everybody owns, your offensive line sucks, so your quarterback wants to run all the time. Well, in this instance, it's the quarterback who kind of sucked, right? Because the tackles, going back to the physics of it all, is you cannot block a guy to 11 yards just because you want to. It's just the way the sets work. It's just the way the physics of the whole thing are. You got to get a guy to about 8.5 yards. So he creates his own problem right here. The end result is good, but there was no pressure on Josh. He created it himself. Does that change his psyche? He floats those last 2 steps. He should have never. Now look, if he's 2 yards closer to us, he just climbs the pocket.
You used the perfect word. He floats. Like those last 4 steps, 3-4 steps are float steps. And like, why is he doing it? So right there, dump that up. Yep. Like he's got 4 little last float steps.
And it looks like Williams is giving up a little bit of pressure, but from the end zone view, if he only drops to 7.5 or 8, if he stops right there, sorry, it was Morse, but
yeah.
And again, I mean, he made a brilliant play out of it, but he created a situation. Oh, Josh runs too much. We hear that all the time. Josh is responsible for why we ran on this play.
Gotcha.
And I talk about it all the time. And it's not just Josh Allen. I watch football all the time, and when I see it, I want to scream at the TV. And I mean, when I played, when a quarterback dropped too deep, I was like, you deserve to get hit. You're going to drop to 9.5 yards? I have nothing for you. I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
And there are very few guys who are, if any.
For sure. So why don't you read this one from Pamela? Another super chat from Pam Donna. Go ahead and read that one.
What do you feel about the Falcons game? We played great yesterday, but do you trust they are finally there this year? I don't trust anything. And, like the scariest thing is a wounded dog, Pam. Like, you see somebody who's wounded, or reach out for help, but they're feeling threatened and they bite.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to have a hardened heart and be focused and pretend like the Atlanta Falcons are playing for. I don't think they're playing for the playoffs, right? Aren't they like?
No, they're also
like 5-10 or
Southern Dome team coming to Buffalo in January. It's not going to go well.
Well, but every game concerns me. I don't chalk any game up. Otherwise, we would have beat Jacksonville, right?
For sure. Next play that we got that we're going to break down is the throw to Jake Kumaro in the end zone that we already referenced it, that you felt that Josh could have put a little more touch on. So we'll just briefly hit this one.
Yeah, I mean, he played a brilliant game, but you can't forgive everything in a win.
So beautiful. The setup is so beautiful.
Slows down right here and just puts some more air under it. I mean, Kumaro's open by 8.5 yards or more. Yeah, easily.
Yeah, wide open.
And you look at the trajectory of the ball. I don't want to highlight it. I just want everybody to know that they're all fallible.
That right there, you see him pull that ball in, like he cradles it and pulls it in, and it just oddly just falls out the bottom. Right.
I realize that, but part of his job is to make the catch as easy as possible, right? We see brilliant catches all the time, guys elevating up to practically 8 feet in the air, one hand coming down. It sure would have been nice to just throw it right into his hands. He could have put about 3 more feet of air and about, 32 miles an hour less on it.
It's a
he
highlight.
Could have flicked that thing like this, like
it's
he
a
did
highlight.
twice in the game.
It's a highlight play for sure. So if he actually completes that pass. One that I want to talk about is the F.A. Obata play. Because to me, this was F.A. Obata not holding his edge. And I texted you right away when it happened. And you were like, defensive ends always get fooled on this one. And
they really do.
I mean, is there an answer to it? Are they not supposed to stay home? Are they not supposed to watch that running back?
Wait, there is an answer. Hold on. I got to scroll back through the chat. Hold on. What was the answer? It was momentum equals force times. The problem is it's a one-stepper, right? So he literally, like when you're watching it from this angle, that's it.
He's cooked.
He's cooked, but it happens to everybody. He doesn't close too much. He's got his left foot in the ground right here, but the running backs are faster. We ran this play all the time, right?
Yeah.
We did it with Flutie, except he took the ball. And this is a big college play. They ran this a ton like 10 years ago, and it's a good play. Why is it a good play? It almost never gets stopped at the line of scrimmage.
Gotcha.
And it's just impossible. It's impossible. It's a better play than a bootleg. The only difference is, you throw the ball to the running back. He typically can't throw it as well as a quarterback, but it's more successful as far as no gain or gain of yardage than a bootleg.
Yeah. The last one we're going to look at is I wanted to bring this one up too, because they did so well of being man on man on this offensive line all for this whole entire football game. And then this was one of those situations where, as I kind of asked you when we were off the air, just, whose fault is this? Like, who's got responsibility for this play? Because Ryan Bates, who played very well, I know I'm going to see it. I know that on Twitter this week, I'm going to see Ryan Bates played a really good game, but he had a little trouble here and there. And this is one of those plays. I just kind of wanted you to kind of describe to us what was going on here, because there's a guy that's showing I'm going to blitz, right? You got 2 stacked defenders. You called them big bodies in the box, I think is what you called them. You have to identify the big bodies. But if you want to break this down real quick as far as what we're looking at, and then I'll run it.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you got to notice is that the nose tackle is at the top side of Morse here. And then a second later, he's going to slide down to Mitch's right shoulder.
I'm going to find it.
Hang on, there we go. The end zone view right here. So this isn't the look you get at the snap. So the nose tackle moves over to Mitch's right, and then Bates has basically got number 50. He's head up on him, and he blocks him. The reason people want to kind of like run this back in time is that in a few frames, what's going to happen is the nose tackle is going to drop off, and then Mitch is kind of free, but that doesn't make Ryan Bates free.
Right.
And then it's like, whose fault is this? Could be nobody's fault. Like, once a guy's feet get inside the down lineman's feet, he becomes a down lineman. So this is a 4-man front unless there's somebody outside of Spencer Brown, which I think there is. So it's a 5-man front. If they're inside the feet, it's a 5-man front. So it's man on. Now a guy drops out. This linebacker or the safety or corner who's in space up above Deion Dawkins, there's 3 ways to block this, right? Deion Dawkins can take them both, and he takes the biggest threat first, which is what we did back in the early 90s. You double read that. So if the guy comes from distance, he's a bigger threat. Deion takes him. I think that's Judon. You let Judon go. Okay, that's one way to block it. Number 2 is the running back scans. So Zach Moss here may be responsible for 23, but we don't know. So if he is, it's an assignment error on him. But looking at this when we run it, it's actually no way in hell, like burning hell with all the hot coffee you can get, that this is Ryan Bates' fault. It's just this doesn't land on him in any way, shape, or form. Now, the third option is Zach Moss has a free release, and that's Josh Allen's guy.
It seems like that's what happened, because if I'm the running back, this seems to me like I'm going to check as the quarterback, and this is where the running back flips sides, because in this formation, you've got 3 blockers, 4 guys coming, right?
Yeah, give it 2 frames and freeze it again.
When the nose tackle shifts. So that guy pushes the nose tackle over. Now he's shifted. Yep, now he's shifted.
All right. So if you look at Zach's first motion here, he's going to his right. He doesn't think he has any responsibility at all. But Ryan Bates is engaged with this guy. I mean, that's it. He's done. He's smoked. So Deion Dawkins doesn't believe he has a double read because he's setting on the end.
Right.
So either Josh has 23 or Zach Moss has 23. And if you go 2 frames again.
Yep.
All right. See 90 now? Mitch has nobody to block.
Yep, because he backed out.
All of a sudden.
He got sugared.
No, he didn't get sugared.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Sorry. I was hoping to use your word.
Yeah, no. He didn't get sugared at all. We've got 4 to block 4.
Gotcha.
Right? Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. It makes no difference to us if 90 decides to drop into a zone dog area.
Gotcha.
That means nothing to us. 0.
Gotcha.
And this is the whole what was the formula again? The physics formula. You can't just suddenly decide, and now that we have this play frozen, like Mitch, you should know that guy's dropping, and then you can bump Bates, and then Bates can get a hand on that guy. We can't do that.
For me, the read is there's a check, move the running back to the left side of Allen, and Allen's got that blitzer, right?
Unless, you mean Zach has the blitzer.
Or I'm sorry, Zach has the blitzer, right?
Well, yeah, but
because this play, you watch Allen, he's not even like Zach Moss is running out to the flat, and Allen's not even looking for him. Allen has there's no way that Zach Moss is like, I'm going to be wide open on this play. Allen's never even looking for him.
Well, he's not looking for him because the flat was covered. So it's 3rd and 10, and Josh wants to get 10 yards.
Gotcha.
So Zach Moss is covered in the flat. Now, whether this is Zach's responsibility or not, we'll never know, but it sure as hell wasn't Ryan Bates' fault.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, and I didn't get to that part. So the part about Ryan Bates was there's a point where he right there, and I just didn't want anybody to watch that and see him go, whoop, and oh, that's my guy, and it's not his guy. Like Ryan Bates is guarding the guy he's supposed to be guarding. Yeah. That other dude just ran by him. So
yeah, that's like, when you don't hold somebody and then you put your hands up like that, you're going to get called for holding, right? I mean, that's just a guy trying to do 1.5 of his job. Instead of doing his job, he's trying to actually do more. It's a great timed blitz. It was nice. They actually ran another scheme earlier, and tackle end scheme that it was a good trick by them, super hard to pick up, and Morse got his shoulder pulled, which they rarely call defensive holding. Just a great defensive call. Now, the nice thing is it took forever and the ball came out.
Right. Well, let's start to wrap this show up. Everybody, you're tuned into the Off Tackle with John Fina show, brought to you by Q42 on the Buffalo Rumblings Multicast Network. We're going to talk about the next expectations. So we've got the Falcons coming up, and we've got the Jets coming up. And I said last night on the Overreaction post-game show that the road to the playoffs in the AFC East for the Buffalo Bills is all but paved. Now, we have to win these games, but the Falcons, again, a Southern team in a dome, coming to Buffalo in January. You got to think that bodes well for us. I don't want to hear any more conversation about Josh Allen can't play in the cold and Josh Allen can't play in front of a crowd. And then the Jets after that. But at this point in time, expectations for you for these last 2 games, or at least this one coming up this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Jets game is far more threatening than Atlanta coming to town for most of the reasons that you've described. Like, Atlanta's bad enough that they could be just kind of shutting it down, looking like, I want to get back to my home and wherever. There's always that possibility, but the divisional thing never goes away. Even if the game ends up, 42-0, it's still a battle for 2 quarters. I don't care what anybody says. It's hard to win a GD football game. I mean, just hard to win a game.
For sure.
My concern, which bothers me, is I think we take both these games as long as they're in a high level and they can they should have stopped celebrating this particular game like when they walked out of the building toward the bus to get on the plane. That if they're still thinking about this game in New England, then we have a problem. Right. Because of all the shortcomings that we've exhibited at every position on each side of the ball, we can't afford any of that crap. And Darryl Talley would tell you that if he were sitting right next to me. We forgot that game like the moment the clock went to 0. At this time in the season with this much at stake. But the hardest part for me is and I said it, everybody's like, oh, Kansas City's dust. And I'm like, no, they're a good football team. They're going to come back. What are they, 11-4?
Yeah.
So we would need them to lose 2 to have it come through Buffalo. We'd have to win out. And I'm sure somebody has some other mathematical equation, but we would have to have them lose 2, right?
Yep.
But that's the biggest thing for me is like,
I
hate playing in Kansas City.
It would be a miracle to get the 1 seed. But I will be honest with you, the way this season has played out, the freaking Chargers just got smoked by the Texans. Smoked by the Texans.
Right? That's insane.
So it's not outside of the Bills lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Titans lost to the Jets. Like it's not outside the realm of possibility. Stranger things this year have happened.
It hurts my brain. If I had one, it would definitely smoke my brain. But as somebody was harassing me on Twitter the other day, it's just too much of the CTE, and I'm a meathead. So, woohoo, buddy, you're the man.
That's hysterical.
I love it. So who do the chefs have left? I like to call them the chefs after that commercial. Remember that?
Actually, yeah, that's great. That looks great. But who are the chefs?
That looks great. Who are the chefs? Oh, damn. They have the Bengals. Okay, that's a game. And
that's a tough game.
And the Broncos to close it out. I don't know, but it's at Denver. And they would love, I'll tell you, if the Bengals can beat them, wouldn't the Broncos love to be the spoiler?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure, but it's more than just them that they have to leapfrog. They've got to leapfrog who else? They've got to leapfrog the Titans, and they've got to leapfrog the who am I missing? In the north. Who's in the north? Is it the Bengals? The Bengals are in the 1 seed in the north right now, right? So yeah, if the Bengals beat the Chiefs, they're gonna have a hard time leapfrogging the Bengals.
Right.
Would be my guess. Yeah. Right. It's gonna be a miracle. It's gonna take a miracle.
Well, it was a great song. I believe in miracles. Where are you from?
I believe in miracles. Yeah,
you sexy thing.
He's talking to me.
Tennessee tuxedos. Yes, I am talking to you. You are both sexy and handsome.
And I try. Let's wrap this thing up. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been tuned into the Off Tackle with John Fina show, brought to you by Q42 on the Buffalo Rumblings vidcast and podcast network. We appreciate it so much, you guys tuning in and hanging with us for this entire show. If you have not jumped on that like button yet, please, whatever platform you are on, like and subscribe. So hit the like button first. That's the thumbs up. And then jump over and subscribe. Hit the bell so you know when notifications or when we're going to be having more shows or more podcasts drop. Tomorrow is the Code of Conduct with Jay Spence, the King, one of my best friends in the entire world, at 9 o'clock. Wednesday is the Hump Day Hotline with myself and Jay Spence, the King, at 9 o'clock. And then Friday, Food for Thought with Bruce Nolan and Nate Geary from WGR 55. But my name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. That over there is John Fina. Any final thoughts, John?
Yeah, just shout out again to the local PB in San Diego. Anybody out there listening, get your butt to San Diego when the weather sucks in Buffalo and join this group for a game. They're awesome. The food was great. The people were great. I felt welcome. My family was welcome. It was truly a pleasure. To everybody, I hope you had a wonderful, peaceful Christmas, and you got closer as a family. Maybe found family members that you've been separated from, that you're passing, love and good tidings around. And we should all say a nice little prayer or throw the karma out there for a new year of kind of kindness and restraint, and looking for and celebrating the beauty in all the small things that we can, and even finding some beauty in people who we sometimes don't care for politically or religiously or what have you. And that's my sentiment for the show. Joe Miller.
Well said. Prayers up for Ike Butker. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes.
It's 2022 is upon us. And here's to hoping for better things on the other side after Saturday. But for Joe Miller, John Fina, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Talk to you guys soon.